Okay, so I wanted to make a video here going over at least a problem from each outcome here to show you how to do each particular problem, and then hopefully that'll help if you're having struggles with any of the other problems. I'm going to do at least one from each group here, and so if you've checked the key, the answer key that's posted online, and you got all the problems correct, then you can skip. You can move around, skip whatever, and just watch whatever ones you want to watch. But I'm going to go through here and do one from each group. So we're going to start with outcome number 1, which is factoring using greatest common factor. In group number 1, all you had to do is find the GCF. Okay, so we're going to look at, let's do number 2. Now, number 2 we've seen before is on your last homework quiz. So we're going to do number 2, GCF. So the first thing you do is you look at all your numbers, okay, and you find out what is going to go into all the numbers. Well, it looks like 5 is going to go into all the numbers, so we write a 5. The other thing we look for is common letters. Now, you have to be careful here. You need to make sure that if you're going to do the X, that all of them have X's in the first place. Same thing with the Y's. Looks like they both have X's and Y's, and the most that I can take from each one is going to be 1 X and 1 Y. So now I'm going to rewrite the expression dividing out each number by 5 and removing an X and a Y from each term. So dividing each number by 5, I get 6, remove an X, remove a Y. Negative 25 divided by 5 is negative 5. Remove an X, remove a Y. 5 divided by 5 is 1. Remove an X and remove a Y gives me no X's or Y's. And I'm done. And so that's the answer. That is factoring using greatest common factor. Now, a problem where you might run into an issue like if you were doing number 6, okay, it might seem logical to not only divide everything by 9, but you need to make sure, first of all, that everything is divisible by 9. You're going to find that 168 isn't divisible by 9, but it is divisible by 3. You can divide them all by 3. Now, you got to be careful here. You cannot take out a Y. Okay? Only the first term and the second term have Y's. The third term does not have a Y, so you can't take it out. So for number 6, you cannot take out a Y, just the 3. So I'm just going to divide everything by 3. 3. The Y's stay there. And 168 divided by 3 is 50. I actually take out a calculator for this. I know it's divided by 3. Yep, 56. Okay. So, and that's greatest common factor for that. Those first 6 should be fairly simple there. Okay. Next, move to outcome number 2. In outcome number 2, we're going to look at just factoring. So you're just factoring, you're not solving, so you're just doing the factors, just doing to the parentheses. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do number 7 here. Number 7, there's no greatest common factor, there's no GCF that I can take out, actually with any of these problems in this section. There's no number or letter that you can factor out. So immediately you go to your A, your B, and your C. Where A is 1, B is negative 12, and C is negative 108. When I do A times C, that gives me negative 108. B is negative 12. So now I have to find two numbers that when multiplied would be negative 108 and add to be negative 12. Turns out that it is negative 18 and positive 6. Negative 18 times 6 is 108. Negative 18 plus 6 is negative 12. Now, you ask yourself, can you do the shortcut? Yes, I can do the shortcut because my A is 1. So I'm going to do the shortcut, drawing my dead cartoon eyes, parentheses with X's in them, and I'm going to bring down my factors, negative 18 and positive 6. And that's it. That's factoring. There's no equal sign, so you don't have to solve. So that is it. Okay. In some cases, like in number 8, your B is missing. Okay, when your B is missing, when you do A, B, and C, since you have to have an A, B, and a C, your A is 1, your B would be, or sorry, your C is negative 25. Since there is no X, your B would just be 0. And you move on from there. Number 9, sorry, I don't know why this B and this C are here. I don't know why. But anyway, this one, you can see your A is not 1, so you're going to have to do the long way. And I'll show you how to do the long way when we go over a different problem here. Okay, that's outcome number 2. So let's move on to outcome number 3. In outcome number 3, this is factoring quadratics using GCF. So here you'll see in all of these problems, there's something that needs to be factored out first. And this is just something, a rule of thumb that you should do for any of these problems. You should always make sure that you can't factor out a GCF first. In any problem, you always want to factor a GCF if you can. If you can't, then you just move on to ABC. But if you can factor something out, you'll want to do that right away. So we'll do one where you have to do we'll do a long way. So in number 14, you actually, this was not supposed to be equal to 0. So we're going to just cross that out. That wasn't supposed to be there. It's a typo. So we're going to cross that out. So now here is a particular problem where we can factor something out. What's the greatest common factor? Okay. It should be just 3. 3 is the only thing that's going to go into all of those numbers. So I'm going to pull out a 3. I can't pull out an x because they all don't have x's, so it's just a 3. Divide everything by 3, I get 5x squared minus 13x minus 6. And now I can go on to ABC. A is 5, B is negative 13, and C is negative 6. So that when I do A times C, I get negative 30, and then negative 13 is my B. When finding two numbers that multiply to be 30 and add to be negative 13, you'll find that the answer is negative 15 and 2. Okay, negative 15 times 2 is negative 30, and negative 15 plus 2 is negative 13. Now again, here you can't do your shortcut. So I'm going to move over here where I have some room, and I'm going to rewrite my equation, my new equation, which is 5x squared minus 13x minus 6. That's an x. Split the middle term into my two factors, okay, which was negative 15x and plus 2x. Now that's perfectly legal because negative 15x plus 2x is negative 13x, so it works. And now we bring down the rest, which is the 5x squared and the negative 6. Now we group using parentheses and do GCF. In the first parenthesis, the thing that is common is the 5, and they both have x's. So I'm going to pull out a 5 and an x and rewrite what's in the parentheses, taking away a 5 and an x. So I just have x. Negative 15 divided by 5 is negative 3. Same thing in the second set of parentheses. Your GCF, the greatest common factor of 2 and 6, is 2. And then I rewrite it, dividing everything by 2. So x and a negative 3. The last step is to finally take what's on the outside, put it in its own set of parentheses, so 5x plus 2, and then what was inside the parentheses comes down, and that is the long way. Okay? So that's factoring using GCF. Now again, rule of thumb, you should always see if there's a GCF in any problem that you do first. You always want to try to factor as much as you can to make your numbers easier. Okay, so that's that. All the other problems are the same. In number 12 or number 11, you would have factored out a 2. In 12, you would have factored out a 2 and an x. And in 13, you just would have factored out an x. And then outcome number 4 is the final step. It's what we just recently learned, where you have to do the zero product property. Now these ones are all equal to 0, so you're going to need to go that extra step and set each one equal to 0. The one I feel like is going to be probably the most questions on is probably number 15. So let's do number 15. First thing we need to notice is that right away there is a GCF that we can take out. Remember, you always want to look and see if there is a GCF to be taken out before you even start the problem. So here it looks like I can divide everything by 3 and an x can be taken away. So I'm going to write 3x and then rewrite the rest of the problem taking away a 3 and an x. So here I just get x squared. And then negative 27 divided by 3 is negative 9. And remove the x, and that's it. Equals 0. Now that I've done the GCF, I can then move on to ABC. So A, B, C. A is 1, B is, now there is no B, so it's 0. There's no, okay, we have the A and we have the C, but there's no B, so it's 0. So negative 9. A times C is negative 9, B is 0. So what is going to multiply to be negative 9 but add to be 0? You should have gotten 3 and negative 3, because 3 and negative 3 multiplies to be negative 9, and 3 and negative 3 adds to be 0. We can do a shortcut because A is 1. So I'm going to do the dead cartoon eyes. Put my factors in there. Now, this 3x that we originally factored out in the very beginning then needs to come down here and be attached and equals 0. Now, since we have equal signs and it's equal to 0, we do need to go that extra step and set each one of these equal to 0. I have 3x equals 0, x plus 3 equals 0, and x minus 3 equals 0. So what answers you end up getting is x equals 0, x equals negative 3, and x equals 3. And that is factoring using zero product property. The rest of the problems are similar. Number 18, you're going to have to do the long way, unfortunately, but the rest of them should be the shortcuts. As you move on to the rest of the review, you're going to see the rest here. You have a section here where you have to figure out what the mistake was. So basically, for 19 and 20, you're going to do this problem. Forget that this is here. You're going to do this problem and do it all the way out and figure out what's the mistake in the answer. Okay, this is the answer they got. So what's wrong with this? Same thing over here. You're supposed to do GCF, take out the greatest common factor, and see what they did wrong in their answer. The rest of this is just multiple choice. It's all review. Okay, this is all review from previous units to prepare you for the ECA. The ECA is your end of course assessment. That's what you need to do well on to graduate. It's the biggest test of the year. And so that's why you're going to start seeing a lot of this review in here. But that's what that is. Domain and range, whether something's a function, all that stuff is in here. If you have any questions, Miss Watson should be able to help you here. But that's that. If you have any questions, though I'm at home, I will try. If you send me a message on Canvas, if Miss Watson can't answer the questions for you, you want to send a message to me on Canvas, I'll try to get back to you in a reasonable time frame. Though I will have a brand new newborn baby, so I will try my best to get back to you as soon as I can. Your test is next cycle. It's right when I get back on Thursday and Friday, depending on what block you have me. All right? Thank you very much.